Hello, my name is Mayanka. I am accounts and a finance trainer from Uplatz. Today in this class, we will discuss section 139AA and section 139B. Section 139AA and section 139B of the Income Tax Act. These are those sections which are relating to the provision of filing of return of income or self-assessment of tax. This is one of the important topic of Income Tax Act. Now, we will discuss section 139AA. Quoting of Aadhaar number. Section 139AA, quoting of Aadhaar number. Quoting of Aadhaar number. First, we will discuss the mandatory situation where the quoting of Aadhaar number means where the Aadhaar number, quote the Aadhaar number is mandatory. Quote the Aadhaar number is mandatory. So, the person every person who is eligible to obtain Aadhaar number is required to mandatorily quote his Aadhaar number. Means if there is any person he is eligible to obtain Aadhaar number, then such person is required to mandatorily quote his Aadhaar number on or after 1st July 2017. Means on these following things we will discuss. On all these documents and application, the assessee is required to mention his Aadhaar number on or after 1st July 2017. Number one, in the application which is made in the form for allotment of PAN number. Means if there is any application is made by the assessee for the allotment of PAN, then such assessee he will mention the Aadhaar number on such application. Number two, in the return of income, when the assessee filed the return of income, then in the return of income, the assessee will mention his Aadhaar number. The assessee will mention the Aadhaar number. So for making an application for the PAN and for making the or for filing any return of income, the assessee will mention his Aadhaar number. The assessee will mention his Aadhaar number. Mandatorily quoting of enrollment ID where person does not have Aadhaar number. If there is any assessee, he has made an application for the Aadhaar, but he has not received Aadhaar number. In this situation, he can quote his enrollment number. The assessee can mention his enrollment number in the place of Aadhaar number because he has made the application for the Aadhaar, but he does not receive the Aadhaar number. He has the enrollment number. So the enrollment number can be mentioned by such person. Can be mentioned by the person if there is any person he does not have Aadhaar, and he is required to put the enrollment number of Aadhaar application form which is issued by him at a time of which is issued to him at a time of enrollment in the Aadhaar application. Then he can mention the Aadhaar enrollment number when he will file the income tax return or when he will make the application for the PAN number. When he will make the application for the PAN number or when he will make the or he will file the return of income, then he can mention the enrollment number, enrollment ID of Aadhaar application. It will be considered as valid. It will be considered as valid. The enrollment ID means it is a 28-digit enrollment identification number. It is a 28-digit number which is provided by the department, when the application for the Aadhaar is made by the assessee. Means when the assessee made an application for the Aadhaar, then there is a enrollment number is provided by the government. And if the assessee does not have PAN number, does not have account, does not have Aadhaar number, he can mention the enrollment number. Intimation of Aadhaar number to the prescribed authority. Intimation to the Aadhaar number to the prescribed authority. So every person who has allotted PAN number on or as on 1st July 2017 and who is eligible to obtain Aadhaar number, then they shall intimate his Aadhaar number to the prescribed authority on or before 31st March 2021. Means every person who has allotted PAN number who has allotted PAN number on or as on 1st July 2017, and the person they are eligible, and these person are eligible to obtain Aadhaar number. They are eligible to obtain Aadhaar number. Then such person they will intimate. Then such person they will intimate his Aadhaar number. Then such person will intimate their Aadhaar number to the prescribed authority, and such Aadhaar number is required to be intimate. Such Aadhaar number is required to be intimate on or before 31st March 2021. Means such Aadhaar number is required to be intimate on or before 31st March 2021. On or before 31st March 2021. 2021. Notwithstanding, the last day of the intimation or linking of Aadhaar number will ban is 31st March 2021. Means the assessee will link his Aadhaar number with the PAN, and the last date is 31st March 2021. The last date is 31st March 2021. Before 31st March 21, the assessee should link his Aadhaar number with the PAN. It is mandatory. If there is any assessee who filed the return of income electronically or manually, if if there is any person who is required to file his return mandatorily or manually, in both cases the link of Aadhaar number with the PAN number, it is mandatory. It is mandatory. So it is mandatory to quote the link and quote and link the Aadhaar number while filing the return of income. Whether whether and whether electronically or whether manually. Means in both cases the link of Aadhaar number with the PAN is mandatory. But there are some special or some cases which are exempted, in which the link of Aadhaar with the PAN is not mandatory, and we will discuss it in point number 5. Consequences of failure to intimate Aadhaar number. If there is any assessee who is required to link the Aadhaar number with the PAN number or intimate the Aadhaar number, if such person fails to link it, to intimate the Aadhaar number, then what will be the consequences? If the person fails to intimate the Aadhaar number and the permanent account number which is allotted to such person, it shall be inoperative after the date so notified in the prescribed form. Means if there is any person fails to intimate the Aadhaar number, then the permanent account number which is allotted to such person, it shall be inactive. It will be inoperative after the date as notified in the prescribed manner. Means the PAN number will be inoperative after the date which is notified in the prescribed manner. Accordingly, Rule 114 specify the manner of making the permanent account number inoperative. Accordingly, Rule 114 specify the manner of making permanent account number inoperative. Means Section 114 contain the manners of making the means in which situation the PAN number will become inoperative. It will become inoperative. Number 1, if a person who has been allotted PAN as on 1st July 2017, there is a person, he has a PAN number as on 1st July 2017. And such person is required to his PAN number under section 139, required to intimate his Aadhaar number under section 139 double A subsection 2. And such person fails to intimate, if such person fails to intimate the Aadhaar number on or before 31st March 2021, if such assessee fails to intimate the same on or before 31st March 2021, then the PAN of such person, will become inoperative. The PAN of such person will become inoperative immediately after the set. Means if there is any person, he has the PAN. The person has the PAN number on as on 1st July 2017, and such person is required to intimate his Aadhaar number under section 139, sub 139 double is subsection 2. And such a person fails to intimate, then such person fails to intimate his Aadhaar number on or before 31st on or before 31st March 2021, then the PAN of such person will become inactive. It will become inactive immediately from the set date. Means it will become inactive after the set date for the purpose of furnishing, intimating, and quoting under the Income Tax Act 1961. Means it will become inoperative. It will become inoperative. Means the PAN number will not be considered as active for filing the return of income, for quoting, and for intimating anything. Accordingly, where a person he has PAN number, means there is a SECI and he has PAN number, and due to the above reason the PAN number is inactive. The whose PAN become inactive, and it is required to furnish, intimate, or quote his PAN under this act. It shall be deemed that he has not furnished, intimated, or quoted the PAN. Means if the PAN number is inactive and such person mention or intimate his PAN number, then it will be considered that he has not furnished, intimate, or quoted the PAN because the PAN is inactive. So in this situation, he would be liable for the consequences. Means he would be liable the consequences under this act for non-furnishing, intimating, or non-quoting the PAN. Means if the PAN number is inactive and the person has mentioned his PAN number on any other application, then it will be considered that the PAN number is not mentioned by him, and the consequences which is relating to not mentioning the PAN will be applicable on him. It will be applicable on him. Where such person who has not intimated his Aadhaar number, when there is any person he has not intimated his Aadhaar number on or before 31st March. There is a person he has not intimated or he has not linked his Aadhaar number with the PAN number before or not before 31st March 2021, because the last date is 31st March 21. Intimates his Aadhaar number under section 139 double E subsection 2 after 31st March 2020, his PAN will become inactive, or sorry, his PAN will become operative from the date of intimation of Aadhaar number for the purpose of furnishing, intimating, or quoting under this act. Means there is a person and who has not intimated his Aadhaar number on or before 31st March 2021 and intimate his Aadhaar number under section 139 double A subsection 2 after 31st March 2020, then his PAN become operative. Means his PAN will be operative for filing or for furnishing the Aadhaar number for the purpose of, means his PAN will be operative for the purpose of furnishing, intimating, and quoting under this act. Accordingly, the consequences in subsection sub-rule 3 would not be applicable from such a date of intimation. The consequences of subsection 2 will not be applicable from such date. Means now the PAN is active. The Principal Director General of the Income Tax or the Director General of Income Tax has to specify the format and the standard along with the procedure for verifying the operational status of the PAN under subsection 1 and 2. Means the Principal Director General of the Income Tax Act or the Director General of Income Tax, they will specify the formats and standards. They will specify the formats and the standards along with the procedure for verifying the operational status of PAN. Operational status of PAN under sub-rule 1 and sub-rule 2. They will specify the procedure, they will specify the formats, they will specify the standards. Now we will discuss the provision not to apply to certain person or the classes of person. Means now we will discuss some provision where now we will discuss the provision where such provision means quoting of Aadhaar is not applicable or certain person, means these certain person are exempted from the quoting or from the link of Aadhaar with PAN. These person are accepted. These person are exempted. The provision of section 139 AA relating to the quoting of Aadhaar number, it will not be applicable to such a class of person or the classes of the person of any state or part of any state as may be notified by the central government. Means the central government will notify the person or the classes of the person on which the provision of section 139 AA will not be applicable. Means these persons are not required to quote the PAN number, to quote the Aadhaar number, to quote the Aadhaar. Means it will be notified by the central government. So accordingly, the central government by the notification number 37 subsection 2017 dated 11th May 2017 effective from 1st July 2017 means the central government by the notification in the official gazette it is specify the central government specify the persons on which the provision of section 139 AA will not be applicable. Means section 139 relating to the quoting of provision would not be applied to such individual who does not have passes the Aadhaar number or enrollment ID and is means on the following person the provision of section 139 AA will not be applicable. Number 1, the person who is the resident of Assam, Jammu and Kashmir and Meghalaya. The person who are the resident of or who are the resident in Assam, who is the resident in Assam, Jammu and Kashmir and Meghalaya. If the person who are residing in Assam, Jammu and Kashmir and Meghalaya, they are not required to furnish the Aadhaar, quoting the Aadhaar number. The person who is the non-resident of India as per the Income Tax Act. The person who is the non-resident of India, they will not require to furnish the furnish the Aadhaar. The person whose age is 80 years or more than 80 years during the previous year means in the case of super senior citizen. In the case of super senior citizen, it is not mandatory to disclose the Aadhaar. The person who is not the citizen of India, no need to intimate Aadhaar number. If the person non-resident of India, the person who is the super senior citizen of India, the person who is not the citizen of India, and the person who is residing in Assam, Jammu and Kashmir or the Meghalaya, then the provision of section 139 AA will not be applicable. Section 139 AA will not be applicable on such person. Now we will discuss section 139B. Section 139 AA, we have discussed about the quoting of Aadhaar number. When the Aadhaar number is required to be mentioned, when the PAN number is required to be mentioned, and when the Aadhaar number is not required to be mentioned. We have discussed all these situations. Now we will discuss section 139B. Section 139B is scheme for the submission of returns through tax return prepare. A scheme for the submission of return through the tax return prepared. Section 139B. Section 139B. Scheme for the submission of returns through the tax return prepares. Section 139B. This section provides that for the purpose of enabling any specific class or the classes of the person to prepare and furnish his return of income. Means this section provide the purpose of enabling, means it will provide the specific person or the specific class of person who will prepare and file the income tax return. There are some persons who prepare the return or who file the return on the behalf of assessee. On the behalf of assessee, and these persons are notified by the CBDT. The CBDT may notify a scheme to provide that such person who may furnish their return of income through a tax return prepared authorized to act under the scheme. Means there are the many person who will be considered as tax return prepared, and these person are authorized, under the income tax act. These person are authorized under the income tax act to furnish the return on the behalf of assessor. Means the CBDT on the basis of such application furnish or determine or notify the person who will be eligible to furnish the return of the taxpayer. They will furnish the return of the taxpayer on the behalf of them. So this section provides that the purpose of enabling any specific class of person or the person who will prepare and furnish the return of income on the behalf of assessee. For the example, there is a person, Mr. Sohan, and he is a tax return preparer. He will prepare means he prepare the returns and file the returns on the behalf of assessee. So such person is Mr. Sohan is notified under the scheme which is issued by the CBDT. So the CBDT has the power that it can notify the person who will prepare the return and who will file the return on the behalf of assessee, and they will be known as tax return preparer, and these all are authorized by the CBDT under the scheme. The tax return preparer shall assist the person furnishing the return in the manner that will be specified in the scheme, and shall also affix his signature on such a return. Means such tax preparer, they will prepare the return, they will furnish the return, they will prepare the return, they will furnish the income tax return in such a manner as may be specified under such a scheme, and they will also affix their signature on such a return. A tax return prepared means an individual other than. Means a tax return prepared means a person who is the individual other than number one, the officer of scheduled bank, with which the assessee maintain a current account or other regular dealing. Means a tax return prepared means any other individual or any other person other than the officer of scheduled bank, which with which the assessee the officer of the scheduled bank with which the assessee has mentioned a current account or any other regular deal, then such a officer of scheduled bank will not be considered as tax return preparer, or any legal practitioner who is entitled to in practice in any civil court in India, then he will not be considered as tax preparer. A accountant, he will not be considered as a tax return preparer. An employee of a specific class or the classes of the person, they will not be considered as tax return preparer. Who has been authorized means that tax return preparer are those person who is authorized to the act as the tax return preparer under the scheme. Means the person who are authorized under this scheme as a tax return preparer, they will be considered or they will be known as tax return preparer. They will be considered as tax return preparer. But the officer of scheduled bank, the legal practitioner or accountant, and the employee of the specific class or the classes of the person, they will not be considered as tax return preparer. They will not be considered as tax return preparer. What is the meaning of the specific class or the classes of the person? As per the pointer, this the employee of specific class or the classes of the person. So what is the meaning of specific class or classes of the person? So for the purpose of this, the specific class or the classes of the person means the person other than company. The person other than company or a person whose accounts are required to be audited under section 44AB means the specific class or the class of the person means company, means any person, means any person other than company, any person other than company, or the person whose books of accounts are required to be audited under section 44AB under the income tax sector or under any other law for the time being enforced. Means if there is any company, then it will not be considered as specific class or the class of the person. Any person whose books of accounts are required to be audited under section 44AB or under any other existing law, who is required to furnish the return under the income tax act, then these person will not be considered as specific class of person. Then such person will not be considered as specific class of person. Means the specific class of person means the person other than company or the person whose books of accounts are required to be audited. Then this specific class of person will not be considered as income tax return preparer. Income tax return preparer. The scheme which is notified under this section may provide the following. Means the scheme which is notified under this section, under section 139B, will provide the following information. Number one, means in the respect of income tax preparer, in the respect of income tax preparer, the scheme will contain the following point. The scheme will contain the following point. Number one, the manner in which and the period for which the income tax return preparer shall be authorized. Means it will contain the provision number one, the manner in which and for the time period, means for which particular time period such income tax preparer shall be authorized. Means for which time period such a person is eligible as income tax return preparer, for how many time and in which manner he is eligible. Number two, such a scheme will also contain the educational and other qualifications which is required for or to be a income tax preparer. The educational and the other qualifications which are mandatorily to become a tax return preparer, and the training and the other conditions which are required to be fulfilled by the assessee to become a or to perform the activity as a tax return preparer is that what will be the educational qualification, what will be the other qualifications, and what will be the trainings and the other conditions which are required to be fulfilled by the person to do or to perform the activities as a tax return scheme as per the tax return preparer. Means if there is any person he wants to be or this person wants to become a tax return preparer, then what will be the qualification and what will be the condition and what are the trainings which are required to be completed by such person to prepare a tax return preparer. The code of conduct, the code of conduct for the tax return preparer, what will be the code of conduct, it will also mention in such a scheme. The duty and the obligation of such person, the duty and the obligation of such a tax return preparer, the circumstances under which the authorization given to the tax return preparer may be withdrawn, the circumstances for which the authorization given to the tax return preparer may be written down, may be withdrawn, and it will also contain other specific method and may be specified by the scheme. It will also contain all the methods which are specified by this scheme. Means such a scheme will contain the manner and the period for which such a tax return prepared authorized, and it will also contain the educational and other qualification. It will also contain the educational qualification and the other qualification of the assessee, sorry, of the such person, and it will also contain that training and the other condition which are required to be fulfilled by or to such a tax return preparer. It will also contain, such a scheme will also contain the code of conduct. It will also contain the duties and the obligations of the tax return preparer. It will also contain the circumstances under which the authorization given to the tax return preparer shall be withdrawn. And it will also contain the other, it will also contain the other relevant method as may be specified under this scheme. According to the severity, in exercise to the power which is confirmed under this act formed, the tax return preparer scheme, it come into force from 2016. 1st December 2016 the means the power the power which is referred in this section, which is formed the tax return prepare scheme 2006 it is came from 1st December 2006. It is come from 1st December 2006. Number one, applicability of the scheme. This scheme is applicable to all eligible persons. Such a scheme is applicable to all eligible person. It is applicable to all eligible person. Number two, who is the eligible person? Eligible person means an individual or actual. Eligible person means individual and actual. Applicability of the scheme. This scheme is applicable to all eligible person. Number two, eligible person means any person, individual, any person being an individual or actual. It is applicable on all the individual and actual. Who is the taxpayer? Sorry, tax return preparer. Who is that tax return preparer? Any person who has been issued a tax return prepare certificate and a unique identification number. When there is any person, he has a certificate of tax return prepare certificate or they have the unique identification number under this scheme by the partner organization to carry on such profession means the person who has the tax return prepare certificate or the unique identification number under this scheme, then such person will be eligible and the person who are eligible for preparing the return of income in the accordance with this scheme on the behalf of another person, then it will be known as income tax return prepare. They will be known as return tax return prepare. However, the following person are not entitled to act as tax return preparer. However, the following person will not be entitled to act as a tax return preparer. The following person will not be entitled. They will not be considered as tax return preparer. Number one, an officer of a scheduled bank, an officer of the scheduled bank with which the assessee maintain a current account or any other regular dealing means if there is any officer there is any officer of the scheduled bank and and there is a officer of scheduled bank with which the assessee maintain a current account. The assessee maintain a current account or any other regular dealing or any other legal practitioner who is entitled to practice in any civil court in India or an accountant. They will not be means the officer of scheduled bank, the legal practitioner and the accountant, they will not be considered as tax return preparer. They will not be considered as tax return preparer. Educational qualification, what will be the educational qualification for the tax return preparer means what are the as per this scheme what will be the qualification. So an individual who hold the bachelor degree, the assessee sorry the person should have the individual should have the bachelor degree from the recognized Indian university or institution or has passed the intermediate level examination which is conducted by the ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, or Institute of Company Secretary of India, or Institute of Cost Accountant of India, they shall be eligible to act as a tax return preparer. Means the person who has the bachelor degree or the person who has passed the intermediate level of examination which is conducted by ICAI, ICSI and ICCI, ICAI means Institute of Chartered Accountant, Institute of Company Secretary, Institute of Cost Accountant. Then such person will be eligible to be appointed, to be authorized, or to be work as a tax return preparer to the tax return preparer. Preparation of and furnishing the return of income by the tax return preparer. Preparation of and furnishing the return of income by the tax return preparer. An eligible person may, at his option, furnish his return of income under section 139 for any assessment year after getting it prepared through the tax return prepared. Means an eligible person may, at his option, he will furnish his return of income under section 139. As per the provision of tax income tax act, every person is required to furnish his return of income under section 139, sorry, under section 139. And such eligible person, then such person has an option furnish his return of income under section 139 for the assessment year after getting it prepared through a tax return prepared. However, the following eligible person cannot furnish the return of income for the assessment year through a tax return prepared. Means these are the following person who will not furnish his return of income through the tax return prepared. Means in these cases, in the following point, in the following cases, all these persons, they will not furnish their return of income. They will not furnish a return of income for the assessment year through the tax return prepared. Number one, the person who is carrying out the business or profession during the previous year, and the accounts of such business and profession are required to be audited under section 44AB or under any law for the time being in force. Means the assessee whose books of accounts are required to be audited. Means there is a person, and such person is engaged in the business and profession, and his books of accounts are, and the assessee, his books of accounts are required to be audited. The books of accounts are required to be audited, under section 44AB, under section 44AB or under any law for the time being is force. Means his books of accounts are required to be audited under section 44AB or under any law for the time being in force. Then such person will not, then they will not furnish, they will not, or they cannot furnish the return of income for such assessment year through the income tax practitioner. Sorry, prepare the person who is the non-resident of India, the person who is not the non-resident of India in the previous year. An eligible person cannot furnish the revised return of the income for any assessment year through the, means if there is any person he wants to be revise his return, then such person cannot revise his income tax return through the income tax return prepare unless he has furnished the original return of income. Means, for the example, the original return of Mr. of a assessee is furnished, or it is uploaded by, it is prepared by Ram. He is a practitioner. Now the return is required to be revised, so only Mr. Ram he can revise it. He can revise it. Any other practitioner, any other income tax preparer does not revise it, So if there is any person who is not the, if there is any person who is not the resident of India, he will not, his return will not be furnished, his return will not be furnished by the tax return prepared. His return will not be prepared or furnished by the tax return prepared. And in the case when there is any person who has revised the return, sorry, who has upload or furnished the original return, he will furnish the revised. Other tax return preparer will not furnish the revised. Now we will discuss an example, and on the basis of such example, we will understand such concept. We will understand such concept. We will understand such concept. Mrs. Hetal, she is an individual. Mr. Hetal, she is an individual, and she is engaged in the business of beauty parlor. She is a individual, and she is engaged in the business of beauty parlor, and her books of accounts are required to be audited under section 44A. Her books of accounts are required to be audited under section 44AB. Her total income for the assessment year 2021 and 22 is 6,35,000 rupees. Her total income for the assessment year 20 and 21 is 6,35,000. She wants to furnish her return of income for the assessment year 20 and 21 through a tax return prepared. Can she do as per this provision? As per this provision, the following eligible person cannot furnish a return of income for the assessment year through tax return prepare. Number one, the assessee who is carrying out the business or profession during the previous year, and the accounts of such person for that previous year are required to be ordered under section 44A, B or under any other law for a time being in force. Means if there is any assessee who is engaged in the business and profession and whose books of accounts are required to be audited under section 44A, B, then such a person cannot furnish his return through the tax return prepared. So in this situation, Mrs. Hathel, she is an individual and her books is required to be audited under section 44A, B. Then she is not eligible to furnish his return through the income tax preparer. Means section 139B provide a scheme for the submission of return of income for any of the assessment year through the income tax return preparer. But if there is any person whose books of account are required to be audited under section 44A, B, then such provisions shall not be applicable on such person. Therefore, the person will not be eligible, or his return or her return will not be furnished by the or through the tax return prepared. So in this case, the Hathel cannot furnish his return of income through the tax return prepared because her books of account are required to be audited by the chartered accountant under section 44A, B. So she cannot furnish her return of income for the assessment year 21 and 22 through the tax return prepared. Through the tax return prepared. So on the basis of such discussion, we have covered section 139AA and section 139B. These are those provisions which are relating to the quoting of Aadhaar number, linkage of Aadhaar number with the PAN, and we have also discussed about section 139B. Section 139B. Section 139B, this one. Income tax return prepare. Income tax return means the scheme which is relating to that tax return prepare. So on the basis of this, we have discussed some other important provision of Income Tax Act. Kindly consider all the videos of such topics so that you can properly understand each and every concept. Thank you so much for watching this video. Okay, bye-bye and have a nice day.